Gave a reason. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Brian.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission work session of January 8th, 2025 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Mr. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Carnahan?
Here.
Mr. Hunley?
Here.
Mr. Sauer? Present. Mr. Wilkeny?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Oliphant?
Here.
Mr. Ushin?
Present.
Mr. Bungie?
Present.
Mr. Conley?
Here.
Mr. Kubiak?
Here.
Ms. Ayuth is present.
Mr. Kapora,
Yes, sir.
I would like to ask Mr. Oliphant a question which affects decisions that the Plan Commission makes.
Okay.
We're supposed to have a water master plan, and you were going to have it by the end, sometime in January. Is that still on track?
It is on track. We're trying to get that paid for as part of remaining SRF funds for the east side water improvements. So we currently are kind of trying to hold back because that won't pay for previous stuff. So we're currently going through what they call a PER amendment process through the SRF. And Brandy Rodriguez, who we've been communicating with down at the IFA, we're kind of going back and forth with her to amend that so you can use those remaining funds from the tank projects and the 141st Main project to pay for that. So they're kind of running on concurrent paths right now.
And it's going to cover the east and west side of the master plan, right?
Yes, it'll include the entire town.
Yeah, all right.
So,
Just got a lot of people asking that question to me, and they say they'd like to hear it publicly.
will that satisfy IDEM then?
Oh, no. Not really I mean, they're aware we're completing it. They are looking for some more of a plan than what's in place now. So it'll cover kind of a 5 to 10 year, forecast. So they've been told through a letter that we're preparing it. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Don, do you have an estimated time of completion?
Well, it's going to kind of sync up with the SRF amendment. So the town doesn't have to pay it out of current town funds. They're paying it out of funds that have already been procured.
No, I get that. Do you have an estimated time of completion?
I don't. I need Brandy to get back to me. She's been off for the holidays. We spoke briefly last week, but she needs to review some public notice stuff for that amendment, and then we'll start working on it bigger. A lot of this work's already been done based on work we've been doing throughout the entire, 24 calendar year. It's more just putting it into a report form at this point.
That didn't tell me estimated time of completion.
Well, I can't, I hope by the end of the month, but I can't give that until we figure out. Otherwise, you're going to be paying something you don't necessarily have to pay for. They won't pay previous expended costs.
To Bob's point, a lot of people are asking about it, and a lot of decision-making rests on it. Thank you.
Okay, we all set? Old business, Caller, concept site plan, owner petitioner Joshua Caller, 9117 West 173rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 9117 West 173rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting to amend existing plat for Winding Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Capura. Nathan Bitts here on behalf of Mr. Josh Culler, 12632 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. As indicated here on behalf of Josh, he's one of the 20 or so homeowners located in the Winding Creek subdivision, 9117 137th Avenue. It's my understanding that Josh was before you on November 8th. At that point in time, he was seeking initial hearing to seek an amendment to a plat for the Winding Creek subdivision. It was shortly after that I received a phone call from Mr. Bungie's office asking to come in. There were significant questions that they wanted to raise with both myself and with my client and with Don about the area. And subsequent to that, I'm here in front of you. I guess what I've got a little bit is kind of a historical overview of how we get here this evening, as when I look back at the 45 or so minutes that were had on this issue on the 8th, there were a lot of facts or questions that were raised that were incorrect or assumptions, and I'd like just to clarify that for the record so that we can move forward, as this is actually a very simple topic and question, I think, in my opinion. So the Winding Creek subdivision was created around 2007 and 2008. And when it was created, down here to back up just a little bit, at that point in time, there were two outlots that were created. There was Outlot B, which is right to the right of the cursor, which is a drainage easement. And then in the middle of the items there by the 9124 was called Outlot A. Now, since 2007, it was the perception of all involved, because it was discussed before the Plan Commission at that time, that that Outlot A would be preserved for a park. I've had conversation, I think, with Mr. Kubiak. I've had conversation candidly with the developer that developed this back at that point in time, and that was what the parties intended to do, was to put a park there. However, as happens in the past, it appears from my research that that was never commiserated into writing. It's always been listed as Outlot A. When I take a look at the recorded covenants for the HOA that was intended to be formed, there's no reference in the covenants that Outlot A is to be preserved and used as a park. It was just historical knowledge. When I take a look at the recorded plat, there's nothing that says Outlot A is to be recorded and used for that purpose, and I've not been able to find any other recorded or agreed document between the town and the development that says Outlot A is supposed to be used for a park. It appears, and others can correct me if I'm wrong, but that while there was conversation about it, when the developer finished, it was never required as part of release of his bond that you have to put a park there, and instead it appears it was communicated to all the homeowners out there that this area is intended for a park, and if you want to do it, then you have to pay for it. So we fast forward to 2021. I happen to have clients that live within this development as well as friends, and they approached me and said, "Hey, Vince, since 2016, we haven't collected any dues for the HOA. It's been defunct since 2016. No one's renewed it with the Secretary of State. What can we do with Outlot A? There's 3 homeowners that have agreed to take it on. Can we divvy it up?" I said, "You know what? I've done this with 2 other HOAs in my history as an attorney. I know of other attorneys that have done this as well. And yes, it's not used as a drainage facility or anything like that." So they hired a surveyor, they created 3 legals, and it was split up 3 different ways. And prior to doing that, did research to assess whether or not the town had a right to it, whether or not it was for drainage or any of those purposes, and there was nothing recorded. So that happens in 2021. And there also was a vote that happened of everybody in the development. No no's, everyone was in favor of doing this. So we fast forward to 2024, Mr. Culler contacted me out of the blue in July and said, "Hey, look, I've tried to apply for a building permit for a fence on the back of my lot. I can't get it. I can't get a reply out of the town." I said, "Not a problem." I said, "Let me fire off a letter to the town saying, here's my opinion. He should be able to do it." And thereafter, I sent that about July, and in late August, I had a conversation with Dave. Dave and I went back and forth. I said, "Dave, I vigorously disagree with you over your opinion that this needs to go before the Plan Commission." I said, "But if it does, we'll do it." And I was of the understanding that that was the case of what we were going to do. So I helped my client with the application. It was submitted, and then about mid-November, I got a phone call from Kirsten saying, "Hey, you need to come in here for a meeting. We're really have some significant questions." So I went to the meeting, and at that meeting, I was informed that apparently at that November 8th meeting, there was a significant variety of allegations being brought up. Allegations that what I had done was illegal. There was information being passed on to my client that, what, you had a quitclaim deed? Did you actually even get clear title? Isn't this supposed to be used for the town? All sorts of things. And candidly, I'd rather not go into those, because what should have happened at that meeting is all the parties said, "You know what, it appears we need more information here. Let's stop, let's get it, and let's not waste 45 minutes of my client's time and yours speculating on a wide variety of things." Okay? I'm not going to go further into the past, and that's why I'm here tonight to clarify the history. What's really, really important though, and I have nothing but the highest respect for Dave, is that the opinion that Dave gave to you about the reason why this needs to come back before you to seek your approval, and I'm going to quote from the letter that I got at that meeting in middle of November, is Dave says, based upon this information, it is our opinion that Outlot A reconfiguration or replatting is substantive enough in the Winding Creek Estates to identify such as needing your approval. And that's Dave's opinion, that it's substantive enough, and I respect that. And Dave and I could probably agree and disagree and say that if I represented 9135 and 9131, and 9135 wanted to quitclaim 3 feet off of his line to the neighbor, Dave would probably agree with me and say that doesn't need your approval, that's minor. My point in saying that is that it's in a gray area. But we don't need to debate that anymore this evening. The point is that I'm here before you on behalf of my client to clarify what you perceive as an issue that needs to be addressed, and the proposed resolution is before you. And that is to take Outlot A and to modify and amend the original Winding Creek Estates plat, and to connect and modify my client's lot and the other 2 that are identified in color in front of you, and reconfigure the map in that fashion. I would have just submitted an application to you for that, but I've talked to the surveyor on this, and it's about $2,000 to prepare this. So rather than incur that cost and then come before you and say, no, we want something else, I thought it prudent to first clear the air, come before you, get your blessing on it, and then we can approach the surveyor, get that prepared and move forward. You know, some folks have said, well, historically this needs to be a park. I think it's okay to look back at history and say, you know what, it was bad planning from 2 decades ago. When there's a park, if you go across the railroad tracks, that's very large, that services the area. So I don't think it's wise to try to preserve this outlot. And I think it's entirely okay to say that was the decision back then, but we disagree with it today.
Are you talking about the whole park?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. As well as across the street, there's green space as well for park. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the dialogue I was hoping to have with you this evening, to clarify the back history, and I'll answer any questions.
Mr. President, can I start?
Yes.
Nathan, I disagree with you on a couple of points, and I just want to ask a question. And
Sure.
I've been involved with the Plan Commission multiple times for multiple years. At the very least, in prior situations, we've required at least a 1-lot subdivision before a surveyor can just come and divvy something up. There's a process for that multiple people have followed over the years. And that is common practice here. There was some discussion, though, at that meeting that Nathan referred to before about a pipe being in the ground over there for drainage in Utopia. Is that correct, or did anybody look into that?
We did. In meeting with Don, we took a look at it, and there's no infrastructure in the ground that we're able to see from anything that's been recorded over there. I think both Don and I took a look at that, and that was my understanding from that meeting.
Is your belief that there's nothing in the ground, or if there is, we don't know about it?
Well, I think part of that, I think if you do move forward with a replat or a plat amendment or a 1-lot subdivision, I think you'd have to get 411 out there to make sure, because the thing they don't know is private utilities back there. Historically, back when these were subdivided in this time period, they run everything in the rear yard.
I just talked to my client, we did that, following that meeting, you had advised that we did that, and there's nothing back to be called 401. That'd be the 3rd time they've been called.
Okay. I mean, we would obviously re-verify that if we move forward with something like this. Because there are existing easements back there. Or sorry, 811, sorry, 811.
Okay.
Yep.
Dave, I'd like to have your opinion on our code and what's required for these types of things.
Well, these types of things are not described in our code.
Well, I mean, yes.
It provides the basic law of subdivision, what we have in our code.
I know the reason why we require 1-lot subdivisions is either to clean something up or keep somebody from making a mess for the future, or other things.
It's for clarity's sake mostly,
Yes.
for sure.
So, in my opinion, it's not as simple as just a surveyor deciding to trace some lines and divide something up. This subdivision is modern enough that it was approved the way it was approved, whether it ever got finished or recorded or not, that's the way it was approved. Outlots typically aren't buildable for anything.
Right.
And that's the way it was approved, and that's all the more reason why it should have at least been brought to the plan commission for some sort of approval before somebody just decided to take it upon themselves to split it up between three neighbors.
No, and I respect that, and like I said, I've done some other occasions, and candidly, after I saw the letter, from Mr. Austin that I disagree with, I contacted a couple other municipal law attorneys that appear before you and said, am I in left field, am I in right field, where am I? And multiple of them said, no, we would have done the same thing because of the minor nature of it. So that's where I want to say, when I come back to Dave's opinion, he talks about the substantive nature of it. And I respectfully disagree, but that's why we're here before you to say, let's do a replat of that area.
There's an additional problem though, is once this starts, a precedent is set, then people start doing whatever they want. And we're stuck with the mess to straighten it out. Maybe it's a year from now, or 10 years from now, or 2 decades from now. Or in a lot of cases that we see here, 100 years ago they did it, but we gotta try to sort through it now.
And that's why, candidly, Mr. Parker, I'm here before you to say your legal counsel has requested a replat or amendment to the plat, and that's what we're proposing is a replat, not just a survey or redrawing lines, but an actual replat of those 4 involved lots that would be recorded on top of the plat so that it's clean for your records.
Okay. I got a question. Now, for this subdivision to get approved back then, didn't they need green space?
It was a requirement at the time.
So were these lots required to make it green space for it to be approved? So if we're taking away the green space, we're nullifying the subdivision, all the reason why it got approved.
Well, one of the requirements for it to be approved.
I was actually on the plan commission back then, and the 5-acre parcel that is now Kiwanis Dog Park and, you know, the Kiwanis Park, that was the park dedication for Winding Creek 1 and Winding Creek 2. So that is why that center section was not labeled a park or anything. I mean, they did the layout, how they did it, because they thought everybody could share the yard, but it was not a park. The park dedication was the Kiwanis Park. It was 5 acres, and that was adequate for both Winding Creek 1 and Winding Creek 2 at the time.
Not a park, but green space, correct?
Well, it was dedicated as park, to the town as park, the Kiwanis Park.
Back in the day, they were
Back
Those 3 lots?
back in the day, those were coterminous terms. They were.
So what was it meant to be, Tim? If not a park with the swing set, what was it meant to be?
It was basically a common space.
Okay.
It was a weird situation,
So
we
it-
asked at the plan commission, but.
So it was approved as common space? That's the reason that the
Correct, it
whole
was-
plat got approved, was that area was common space?
Right, it was brought up at the thing that it was kind of odd, and they said it was just kind of a shared rear yard for all of those lots because of the unique shape of the lot.
So call it park or call it whatever you want, the reason that it was approved, part of its approval process was that being common space.
Yes,
It was on the plat, correct?
it's green space. And it's quite clear that there was a path going to it for everybody to use.
Yeah, that was
Not just those 3 years in
correct. It's
using
on
your
the left
neighbors.
side of, between 9130 and 9120, there's a,
And that's been deleted, it's not on this page, but it's been deleted.
It's on lot 96 now.
it's on lot, now it's, I should have drawn it in there, that would be proposed to be
Yeah.
morphed into 9130.
I guess, back to what Mr. Parker was talking about, it was approved, you need so much green space for so many houses. The Kiwanis property has been added to, combined, blended.
Kiwanis is the park green space for Beacon Point.
That's right, couldn't remember Beacon Point. You got Beacon Point, you have all this stuff, all this is being condensed. Like Chuck said, it kind of nullifies the neighborhood in general. And I asked about the property, the other green space, what else is going on in this neighborhood that's gonna come back to haunt us? You said it's back at the circle down back in the corner there.
Yeah,
I think, I was talking to somebody on the phone, and I can't remember, or it was here. There's no taxes on that.
No, it can't
But,
be.
huh?
No, it's a not-for-profit entity that is the title owner.
Hold on, back up. That property, pull that up, can you pull that in, Don? That property is owned by who?
Currently, this one.
The HOA.
It's titled to the HOA.
Okay, but it has the description of HOA.
bless you.
However, it's given address of the property to the north?
13731.
Yeah. That's the last president of the HOA before it went defunct.
Who maintains those lots?
So that's, and I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Hunley, that's part of the issue, is that in 2021, the owners out there were tired of who was gonna maintain these lots because we have no HOA. So that's why they came forward to say, no one is, quote, enjoying this green space, no one wants to contribute to pay for anything to maintain it. And that's why the divvying up of that one. They understand that Outlot B there is for drainage. And that ownership is no different than, say, I own a property and I die, my name is still the titled owner of it, and then it's my estate, but this is still titled to the HOA. But it's not
But
gonna
the
get taxed.
HOA doesn't exist.
Right.
So who gets it when,
Well,
or when do they come in to subdivide it?
So that was
Because there's
part
not, Don, where's the pipe on that property? The pipe's not 40 feet wide.
Which one?
The corner, lot B, outlot B. That right there. That whole piece of property is not drainage. The storm structure's in the street, everything runs underground, it's not like a watershed.
Well, you have the pipes, the stormwater pipes in the right of way that lead to it. And then when
Yeah, but they end up in the
ditch.
ditch. Yeah. Okay.
But it-
Right.
Jerry, that's a great point.
My point is, we have this, it still says it's the HOA, last president or not. I don't wanna have the discussion like this one in 5 years because somebody comes in here and subdivided it,
So, no, you're exactly right, so two
which is
things.
exactly what was done to the first one.
Two things. So number one is, I think Dave would agree with me, a practice tip now when it comes to HOAs, and I think we even did this with Railside, is that if the HOA goes defunct and fails to maintain public infrastructure like this, then the town has a recapture right to come in. And I say it's a practice tip because that wasn't put in 2006, 7, 8. Today, we would say that needs to be put in, because now we're seeing all these HOAs that are created, they can fail. So, but we can't go back in time and do that. But number two is no one would be able, and people, this happens. These lots do eventually go up for tax sale because it probably has a $5 or $10 fee each year, not for taxes, but for like a stormwater fee, which HOAs and churches don't have exemption from. So eventually when it gets up over to 300, it may make its way to a tax sale. But you're right, before somebody would be able to come in and build on it, they would have to submit a building permit application. Mr. Conley or Mr. Bungie or someone would take a look at it and say, well, no, this is a designated outlot. You can't build a house on an outlot. And I've encountered that a couple of times.
Yeah, which takes me back to the situation in present. So,
Go ahead.
So Tim, you said this was never dedicated to the park. There's no, nothing was...
I remember the uniqueness of it. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I remember it being talked about at the meeting and that, you know, that it was odd to us that it was like that, and they said it was just gonna be basically, I mean, that was their intention, the developer's
Well,
intention.
but they needed a certain amount of square footage in order to get the property approved, to get the neighborhood approved. They added so much green space.
No.
Because Kiwanis was a substitute for that?
No, hold on, reverse though, Jerry. Either way, it was approved with the understanding
Yeah.
that it was green space.
Correct.
Forget about the park.
Yeah.
Right, I guess it wasn't, I guess my thing is that their park requirement was met by, they gave the park area of the Kiwanis Park to the town for the park, that met, that 5 acres was the green space required for both of those developments.
Let me ask a question. I'm sorry, Jerry. Very quick. I'll give you a break. What is the point of us being up here and going through hours and hours and hours with these developers to make sure all these fulfillments are done with park space and green space and all these other things to get that approval for that not to make a difference anymore? Why are we here? I'm looking at Dave right now.
You need to be here. We need to follow our plat process in our subdivision ordinance. There's a totality of circumstances here. Nathan and I will agree on a bit of the lay of the land facts, but most of them probably not. When you considered, when Tim ran the meetings as Plan Commission chairman, that was all talked about. And this particular subdivision, consisting of 2 units, 1 and 2, being adjacent to each other at 137th and Parish, there were considerations given for a lot of things that happened in there. Drainage, there was water flow. If you remember, we hadn't fixed Utopia's water storm drainage at the time. That had to be taken care of off-site. The totality of circumstances here, we didn't have a mature and ready-to-go Kiwanis Park. That's what subdivision platting is about in total. Now, it's broken out, and Don and developer reps, they identify those areas to address and present back to you, but the totality of circumstances is what a plat is about, at least in my opinion. And I say to you about this, that was a totality of circumstances of approval in 2 units over a couple of years' time period. And all of those things had meaning. I learned today, I did not know this, that the plat was not recorded. I'm thinking, who dropped that ball? Well,
That's my next question.
It must have been us.
Who dropped that ball?
It must have been us. I mean, that's all I can conclude by sitting here thinking about it. And that's not by way of castigating anybody. It's just something happened in the process that kind of took it out of our eyes. And we must have been comfortable with it, because how many homes are in there? 50, 60, 70?
Oh, there's...
Tied in both units.
Both units.
Yeah, because they were presented together. They were broken into units for plat approval processing because of the sureties and bonds and all that.
So not that the Parks Department needs any more to do. The lot that legally has the HOA's name on it, why isn't that recorded and given to the Parks Department?
It could be. I mean, I'd have to really review the title.
I mean, we're trying to do our best to clean this up, and I'm going backwards here, I admit it.
No, and Mr. Wilton, I appreciate that, and actually, I've got a couple of HOAs in Cherville where that is the case, because the HOAs were going defunct. So actually what Cherville did is to say, well, we'll take ownership of these drainage ponds, because they recognized that the HOAs weren't being handled appropriately. So I think, and that's why I get to the practice tip, and that's why when Dave and I were working through on Railside, there's a reversionary interest in the covenant documents that says, if by chance it goes belly up, the town can step in to manage all this drainage infrastructure.
Right.
But again, that's something that you learn after 15 years of history. And I guess, Heather, one thing I would like to say is that the action that I took in 2021 was not to thrust the middle finger at this body or anybody. I sat on the redevelopment commission for 10 years, and I respect the work they do. I candidly didn't think that it needed the approval because there wasn't a reversionary interest back to the town, or didn't serve a purpose for drainage and things of that nature, as does Outlot B.
In your words, it did feel like a middle finger, honestly. And it felt like a middle finger because what is the point of us I spend time away from my family and everything else that I have to do to try to do the right thing up here, hours on different development. And there's equations that we use and all these things and what they did in 06, 7, 8, whatever. But same concept, they were doing that then.
Sure.
And then to have someone come in and just say, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and piece this apart and give it to these people. I understand the idea, and I'm sorry for you. I feel so bad for you that you're in the middle of all this. Horrible for him. Horrible. But what's even more horrible is that he's put in this position, and in my opinion, you did that.
Okay.
Are all the other lots taken, are all the other lots sold?
There's only one lot that's not built on, that's 9130, and back in 2021, they took a vote, I have it in my office, I think it was 20-0 of all the homeowners that voted to say, yeah, distribute it to these 3 owners, so.
Hold on, back up. You're talking about the outlot.
Correct, Outlot A.
No, we're talking about are all the lots.
All the lots in the subdivision?
Yeah, only 9130 is the only home is the only lot that's not built on.
Is it 10,000 square feet?
Pardon?
Is it 10,000 square feet, or it got subdivided too?
No, it was an original, it's an original, that's the one that's.
So it's still buildable?
Next to.
Yeah, it's got a weird shape, it all slopes down.
Challenge.
I mean, it gained 10 feet.
Like that. It's what?
It gained 10 feet.
Okay, so it's, we didn't make something too small.
No,
With the increase
everything's
to
gaining.
the minimum size houses standard, it's probably not buildable without some type of variances now, because we increased the minimum sizes of the houses, but there was able to fit a house on that footprint back in the
All
day.
right, question, does this gentleman legally own that piece of property that he wants to fence in?
Yes,
He legally owns it,
yes.
so what are we hashing out here?
What we're hashing out, in my opinion, that's a great question. What we're hashing out is if we can replat it so that it bears the label of a residential lot, so that he can come back before the building department and get a permit for a fence.
Well, if he owns it, why can't he?
Well, that's been my contention, that was my letter to...
Well, somebody tell me the answer to that.
Because there was no
Dave,
subdivision
if I can-
process brought to the plan commission, it's not a legal subdivision.
And it was approved as green space with the original subdivision.
David,
How many
there's a legal lot.
subdivisions have you reviewed?
Well,
since
it's
you've
a lot of
been
record,
involved?
it's an outlot.
It-
And
Yeah, but
that's
do
the
those
problem.
property owners own it?
Can't answer that, I don't know. The HOA's dead.
So this is where Dave and I disagreed. My opinion to Dave was that an outlot is still found, it's a residential outlot, which is found within your zoning code, that's part of a residential lot. There's no prohibition in your zoning code that says you can't build a fence on a former outlot.
Nowhere in that plat does it say it's a residential outlot.
It's a residential subdivision.
Did money transfer, change
Part of your
hands
advocacy for
on
sure, but it's not a
this
residential
vision of this
outlot.
property?
No.
Nobody, he didn't pay anybody for his piece of the land?
No, what happened is, there was a former owner, it was an LLC that owned it before him.
He bought it that way.
And they paid the surveyor, then they paid the recording fees, for the deeds that were recorded. So yeah, the HOA technically, which is a defunct entity, but still has the authority to deed out land, deeded away. So he and two other owners are now, or three, are now the owners of those pieces.
Did they have the authority to deed it out when it was considered green space?
They do. A defunct entity can still let loose of its assets. It's part of the code. It can still let loose of its assets even if it's administratively dissolved.
So,
No, I think, that didn't
Supposed
answer,
to be?
that didn't answer Bob's question, and you're right. That didn't answer your question. Your question was, did they have the authority to do that when it was platted as something else?
Yes.
What's the answer to that?
Yes. You can...
So why are we here?
so, wait a minute, where's the document that all these people agreed to? I mean, it's just a handshake and a case of
No,
beer?
I have the minutes in my office.
Of the HOA meeting? When they all-
When John
And all
and
these-
I started talking about that.
And all these people signed this document?
Yeah.
All the homeowners signed everything?
Yeah, 21 or 22 or
Well,
something like that.
well, they don't care. What, the homeowners don't care because they don't want to take care of it. That's not the point.
My point is, was this done with everybody? That's my point.
Well, yeah, because they didn't want to take care of it anymore.
I just, yeah.
Dave, tell me if I'm wrong, the best case scenario is this needs to be a one-lot subdivision. Am I correct in,
Yes, and it needs to be residential.
Is it a one lot or a four lot?
Well, minimally one lot.
does it fall into the definition of a one-lot subdivision, or is it?
Well, that definition doesn't exist either, except in practice, Greg.
Okay.
You know, as to whatever the particular parcel is and what
So,
you need.
so the right way to clean this up is for it to go through the subdivision process, if
It
we're
is.
gonna clean it up.
It is, in my opinion.
And it needs to be 4 lots.
And I'm not crazy about doing that because this is minuscule in my view. My problem is the precedent. Well, I mean, everybody has to follow the same guidelines and the same rules. If it doesn't happen this time, the next time you turn around, somebody's gonna do it again, and we want control of these subdivisions.
And Ms. Burke, I respect it, and that's why I'm here tonight, and that's why we talked about with Dave what happens currently with HOA covenants.
Now, if these 3 lots are taken over by the adjoining property owners, the subdivision will be finished.
No, there's still another outlot that could be a problem.
Yeah, there's still one outlet that hasn't been built on yet, right?
One lot.
One lot and one outlet.
One lot.
Sorry.
And one outlot that has no...
One lot and one outlot.
that has
So I mean, you could,
It's out there in
see this
space.
again. What we wanna see is rather than somebody just divvy it up and say, okay, take it to the county and this is legal, we want it to go through the process that we require in town, so we don't have continued situations like this that create problems in the future.
And Mr. Parker, and I agree with you, and that's why I say Dave's opinion said substantive enough. There are instances where people modify lot lines that probably don't come before the plan commission because they're minor, right? So I just want us to appreciate that that's part of the opinion here as well. It's not a hard, fast, clean rule.
Well, I think what makes it substantive, and like you said, this is done, you know, say somebody deeds off 5 feet of their property, and now you have an 85-foot lot and a 75-foot lot. It seems minor, but now you have a lot that doesn't meet minimum frontage, or maybe it doesn't meet minimum size now. But it doesn't, nobody notices it until somebody comes for a building permit.
Right.
How do you stop those?
No, I agree.
And I think what makes this substantive is the question about the outlot. If you can't answer that, that's what makes it substantive. I get there's nothing in the actual covenants or on the easement provision or the outlet A provision, but yeah, that's what makes this super great. Because now you're going back to meeting minutes and what happened and what may have been talked about in, you know, somebody's side room, and, you know, I mean, that, you're taking a gamble by doing it directly to the county and not coming here first.
And that's why we're here tonight before you
Yeah.
to say what process do you want us to go through so that we can move this forward.
That takes the outlot out of the equation too. I mean, it becomes a residential, whatever he's adding to his lot and the others, it becomes a part of their residential lot. It's no longer an outlot. It cleans that up.
Mhm.
I don't like on subdivisions that are modern doing things like this, but that is the correct way, in my view, to make this, to clean this up. Am I wrong?
And I quite frankly think it all needs to be cleaned up.
I agree.
It's a 4-lot, 3-lot subdivision, whatever it is, the outlot that's drainage, whatever it is over there, that needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be, what do you gotta do, dedicate it to the town, whatever's gotta happen. Because we don't wanna visit this again, with anybody.
I wanna know though, where's the pipe that drains Utopia that we paid to put in, Utopia? Do we even know where that's at? Because we were under the impression that it was under this ground. Is it?
It goes to the ditch,
Yeah, it goes
where you can drive under the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where it's at, we know that for sure.
Do you have a question, Tim?
I'm sorry.
President, so can we address the issue of the unrecorded plat for this subdivision?
If perhaps, rather than a whole new subdivision, Dave, my thought would be, what if we just amend the entire plat to reflect these quote 4 modified lots and record that?
Well, I don't have a problem with that, because that's an undeveloped piece of land. If we have not recorded the plat for Unit 2, that's what I'm talking about, and what the legality of that is and becomes, and what it means in title coverage and transfers of property and permitting and the like. Not looking for a problem, but this is classic Cedar Lake.
But it needs to be cleaned up in totality.
Well, it does, but we have an unrecorded subdivision unit. And recording it now, I have no idea what that.
And unfortunately,
You and I
Mr.
need to
Viss,
talk about that maybe.
unfortunately, there's not a document from 1936 that tells us otherwise.
Tim's been trying to say something.
My only concern is that if we're gonna try to do something with outlot B that is a drainage easement, we also need to take care of the outlot drainage easement in Winding Creek 1, because it's in the same,
You mean the big pond?
yes,
And who owns that?
the same.
The HOA, probably.
The HOA is defunct over there too?
Is that a recorded plat?
Okay. The Parks Department have enough money for more lawnmowers?
I'm pretty sure, but I would like to, if we're gonna try to maintain and take care of this outlot, we also need to include that one, because it's been a mowing and a maintenance, and I've chased that several times.
Well, here's the other thing. In the past, we've had retention ponds sell on tax sales, and somebody reaches out to us wanting to sell it back to us.
And this particular detention pond has no taxes assessed to it. I've looked into it already. I've tried it goes back to the original developer, and there's no, it's just
It's almost
I would
mysterious.
caution you.
It's almost
Think about that.
mysterious. Why isn't
There's no taxes being assessed.
there an entity that's responsible for property taxes?
What, Don?
I would caution you to think about that very in-depth, because that sets a pretty poor precedent, in my opinion, because now you're gonna get all the HOAs that don't wanna maintain something, saying, oh, well, the town will take it over.
They do that anyway, Don.
I know,
That's
but
plan-
to willingly take
plan
it
development.
it starts putting a lot of stress on your public works
A lot
department.
of maintenance that we
That's
kind
part
of
of
maintain
town.
now because.
Well,
That'll go to the reversionary language that Nathan and I will work up.
Well, we've got that on the more modern ones now, but there's a lot of these that are not modern, we'll say, that don't have that language.
I agree, but it's in a black hole right now and
I know.
nobody's maintaining
And
it.
you need to think about those type of matters when a big parcel of land is subdivided in very small bites and units. We've seen that, leaving planned amenities, planned improvements, planned infrastructure that was codependent on the rest of the development not occurring. We could end up with residual consequences to our utilities, to our infrastructure.
We've had it in the past.
Well, we have.
So, let's get back to why we're here. What do we do with this piece of land? Do we go ahead with a subdivision?
There's some more information needed, I
It
think.
sounds like perhaps if you'd be okay with Dave and I working together to say if we don't have a recorded plat, is it possible to create a recordable plat that would have an updated these 4 lots on it? And that's what you ultimately approve as an amended plat for recording
What
purposes.
4 lots are we talking?
You agree with that, Dave?
The 4 lots
Yeah,
that cut in now
I think
on
that's the
it.
beginning of getting a solution, identified.
They split that big triangle.
But I would start with the plat.
In the corner?
Who made the
Foundation
assessment that the
information.
plat wasn't recorded?
What's that?
Who made the final assessment that the plat wasn't recorded?
I heard that today, Don.
Okay.
I did not do any.
May or may not be true.
That's what
May or may
that's
not
what
be true. The
I'm
documents I
just-
have are not recorded, however.
I mean, it would be very odd that it wasn't recorded, but all the legals and everything shows up on county GIS. I don't know how that would have happened if it wasn't
We'll have to talk
recorded.
to Dan.
Yeah, we can talk to Dan.
Yeah, we need to talk to Dan. We got legals and no record of recordation.
I don't
Okay,
think we
so
have a
what-
recorded
What we
one.
need is more information, is what we're saying?
Well, I guess it sounds like there might be some hesitancy, but generally, the proper process is to move forward with an amendment of the plat or a re-subdivision. And if you're okay with it, I'll work with Dave in the next couple of weeks, figure out what legally he would require, and then we'll come back before you with a formal application.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest. You guys get together,
Yep.
find out what it is, if it's recorded, and what it takes to make it clean.
Yep, we can do that.
It's a shame we're spending taxpayer dollars on this.
Well,
It happens from time to time,
Happens
unfortunately.
too much.
so, Don, if you get a hold of this Dan guy at the county, you're looking at legals, obviously something was taken over there.
One would think.
We don't know.
Right.
Well, yes, but there's legals. Somehow it got from,
We have a.
From the developer to the county?
Bounds legal description, that's what we have. That's what I have.
Okay. Dan's kind of the keeper. so-
Sometimes, Jerry.
He doesn't know, then we have a
the
problem.
Staff, people leave with handfuls of stuff,
come on,
yeah.
no.
Okay, so we're good here. You're gonna work with Dave, come back with more information.
And we need to make absolutely sure utilities,
Yeah, well,
any utilities.
that'd be part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
New business, Cedar Lake Convenience Store concept site, owner petitioner, Ali, 9841 South Bridgeland Avenue, apartment 3E, Oak Lawn, Illinois, 60453. Vicinity of 14424 Moore Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303.
No one's here on his behalf?
Turn the page, I'm working on it. Petitioner is requesting concept plan and site plan for a convenience store. Do we have a petitioner here? Anybody here for this? Okay.
Maybe that's gonna be incensed, wait till.
Send him a note, send him a letter, tell him he missed his meeting. If he doesn't show up the next one, he's out. So good?
We're gonna hear concept in the meeting,
First session.
Do you know he was supposed to be here,
next
John?
work session.
Next work session, yeah.
I would presume so.
Cheryl?
John, he's not online, right?
There's a Michael Roth online, but I don't think he's, oh, sorry. They are on, not the,
Oh, somebody has a hand up.
they're on the side. I can figure out how to get them in there. There we go. They're an attendee. They weren't, All right, Talal, I think you can speak. You just have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello.
Hello, name and address, please.
The name is Talal Abu Ali, and address there is 4422 Moore Cedar Lake, Indiana.
I need your residence address.
What is it?
I need your residence address.
Oh, okay, it's 9841 South Richland Avenue, or apartment 3 East, Oakland, Illinois, 60453.
Okay, go ahead. That's what you wanna do.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, tell us what you wanna do.
Went back on mute.
You still there?
He muted himself.
Why is he muted?
Get your license.
There you
So, we're waiting for the inspection to get the license.
The inspection to get the license. I don't think he realized we missed whatever else he said.
Could you repeat that, sir?
I said we're waiting, for the inspection to get the license.
We need to know what you wanna do.
What's your project?
It's a grocery store.
Oh, you wanna add, are you adding on, are you addition, are you taking another wing, what?
We're not adding anything.
There's a grocery store there right now, correct?
There's a convenience store there now, and I think it's just changing ownership.
Oh, are you selling this business? Are you buying the business?
No, we just purchased the place. Well, no, we're not gonna sell it, we just purchased the place.
Tim, do you know what they need in this, on the convenience store?
With the new owner,
They're just all new businesses are coming before you guys, before they're approved, so that's why they're here.
But this isn't a new business, it's already there.
Correct. No, well, no, it's not, because they're changing owners.
It changes owners, it's a new business?
we kind of
If
don't
you
really
read chapter
understand.
17, it says all. I
So-
agree, but
So how do we know he's gonna leave it as it is now? Because he could demo the whole first floor and make that a huge grocery store and keep the apartments up above.
Do you own this building?
No,
They're not gonna do that.
It's gonna be rented.
Maybe I don't understand, but it's already a convenience store that's operating, they're purchasing it.
I totally agree with you. However, this picture shows the whole property. It doesn't show the convenience store part of it.
This is the survey from when it sold in 2022.
Yeah, it's not, This business is going to continue to exist as it is?
yes.
it didn't make any sense to me either, but
Well, we just wanna be sure it's not gonna be a huge grocery store or more apartments.
basically changing names from what I was told, it was changing names and remaining similar, same use.
I'd say they're good.
But it has to be the same.
There's no way for them to change it, they don't own the building.
No, but you don't know what the landlord might let them do.
Landlord has a number of them.
The question I asked is it going to exist?
As is.
As it is?
Yeah.
He said yes.
Okay. As
So
is.
just have them come in at the next meeting and we'll approve it.
As is.
Come see him in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I guess we'd like to see you in 2 weeks so we can, get a little better handle on this. And, if everything's good, we should, be able to approve it, but we'll need you to come in.
Yeah, it's January 15th, it's actually next week.
Next week, next Wednesday, because we're.
January 15th.
Because of the holiday.
Yeah.
Can you come in on January 15th?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay, and that meeting will start at 7 o'clock.
Afternoon?
No.
Evening, 7 o'clock, evening,
Oh, evening, okay.
okay?
Okay, I got you.
All right, we'll see you on January 15th for that meeting.
All right, thank you so much.
You bet. Good luck.
Thank you.
Number 2, Harbors Creek preliminary plat extension for 1 year. Owner petitioner Diamond Peak Corp. LLC, 1313 White Hawk Drive, Crown Point, Indiana, 46307. Cindy of 9210 West 155th, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. Petitioner's requesting a 1-year extension for preliminary plat for Harbors Creek. Hi.
Hello, Michael Herbers with Diamond Peak Group, 1313 White Hawk Drive in Crown Point. Here this evening to bring to the work session meeting a 1-year extension for our Harvest Creek subdivision. This project was approved a few years ago, however, with current infrastructure restraints or constraints in the town of Cedar Lake, it doesn't make sense for us to start developing cause any more issues or constraints that are already there. So we are tabling the project kind of until further notice, until the town of Cedar Lake upgrades their sewer and water.
We're working on it.
Exactly, yep. And then we will be back and, start pushing work.
What will the dates be on that? When does it expire?
It expires February 15th of '25, so it would be extended until February 15th of 2026.
To Feb. 15, 26. Okay, in 2 weeks?
1 week.
I mean, 1 week.
Yeah, I know. Tough habit, isn't it, John?
Yeah, we'll see you next week on the 15th, okay?
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for sticking around. Number 3, NIPCO Cedar Lake Mobile Substation Stormwater and Erosion Control Plan, owner petitioner, Southern Public Service Company, 801 East 86th Avenue, Maryview, Indiana, 46410, vicinity of 6816 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner's requesting site plan approval for NIPSCO Mobile Substation. Hi. Name and address, please.
My name's Rachel Schmergano. I am representing the Natural Resource Permitting Team for our mobile substation here in Cedar Lake. And we also have Megan Hennig online from our Public Affairs Office. So I would like to...
And isn't there some others too?
There are. We have 2 projects here today, so some of these are in that second project.
You work with Megan?
Yeah.
I used to work with Megan.
She's great. Hi, Greg.
How you doing, Megan?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
We appreciate the time today. We thank Council President and Council. Thank you very much for putting us on the agenda. These 2 expansions are really important for your community. They're going to provide long-term reliability from an electrical standpoint and provide a lot of economic development and growth in your community too. So Rachel is here to talk about the mobile sub, and then we do have some representation as well to talk about Hager Substation from an engineering and environmental standpoint. We have folks down from Indianapolis that are on the call. So. Great, thank you, Megan. So I will start out by saying that we appreciate Don reviewing these plans and sending out comments for them. We did just receive the comments, so we are still working through addressing all of the items that you have
presented to us here for the plan sets, for all updates to Burke. We did want to mention that we are requesting a detention waiver for the mobile substation project due to the fact that we are increasing the drainage path between the two lots that are there with they're doing a drainage pipe that connects both the upstream and downstream existing drainage path that's there that has since collapsed and is not working properly. So we have been in touch with, since the 30, 60, and 90% engineering phases of this plan, and I guess it should be noted that Burke Engineering also designed the plans for the mobile substation, and I know Burke Engineering reviewed the plans.
I was getting there.
Okay. They do not work in conjunction. I don't think there's a conflict of interest. Burke is obviously a very great firm that represents a lot of our stormwater projects in NIPSCO in entirety.
You get compliments.
Can I say?
She doesn't think there's a conflict of interest.
Are you going to explain the two different locations, where you're going to upgrade the one on the west side of the lake, and then you're going to add a mini station on the east side of the lake, adjacent to the hardware store?
Okay, so adjacent to the hardware store, we actually are not doing anything with that lot except upgrading the equipment. We're changing out one of the transformers that's inside of that substation. Everyone who's driven past that substation, I'm sure, has recognized that it's very tight in those corners with the fence line almost coming up directly to the equipment itself. But the lot adjacent to it, 12 and 13, were not available, and something that we have been doing to increase reliability amongst our customers is expanding our substations to allow site usage for a mobile substation unit. In the event that a major equipment failure happens, we are able to bring in a mobile substation, hook up that power immediately, and restore power to any customers that are out. Or in an alternate fashion, if we have equipment upgrades, such as this transformer upgrade that we're going to be putting in, we can set up the mobile substation unit prior to any of that work happening, and no customer will notice any changes with their power. So this is something that we're doing across all NIPSCO substations, is either adding on to the existing substation if there's room in those plots to allow for the addition of the mobile substation area, and if there's not, then we have to proceed, such as how we are here, with getting additional land that we're able to use then for putting the mobile substation.
And what will the mobile substation land, will you put like a concrete foundation or something so something can be placed there?
So it will be an aggregate stone foundation. The reasoning behind doing that is it is part of a ground grid, the specific stone that we use in the substation. So there is a reasoning behind it being a stone station. I know that was something that was mentioned in the comments, was putting in an aggregate, or not using an aggregate instead, but this is typical with all NIPSCO substations. Obviously, there are lines that run underground, so in order for us to access those areas, or any lines or any fiber connections that go towards these pieces of equipment, we have to hydrovac inside so that we have safe access to that equipment, where there's no digging, there's no dismantling of any paths.
Are you talking about both substations now, or just the first?
So just for the mobile substation.
Which is the first one, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, the biggest items on this one, like Rachel said, other staff at our company has designed this. I'm not involved in it, so I did review it, both of them. The biggest, I guess, items on this one that kind of need your input would be obviously a waiver from an aggregate pad. It's been historically, this board has not allowed aggregate as a final, call it pavement or pad, we'll call it material. So they would need a waiver from that, and then also a waiver from stormwater detention. Right now, I think the disturbance area from that site's half an acre. I think the entire site's 7.7 acres. And they are kind of addressing an existing flooding area right there. There's a 10-inch kind of clay tile that drains a ditch coming from the northeast that has historically, when that basically gets full, it floods onto 133rd. So it's connected into the roadway system right now. They are proposing to install, basically remove that 10-inch, install a 24-inch pipe and keep it disconnected from that roadway system.
So in your opinion, what they're doing to improve do we still need detention on this property?
I mean, the half an acre, that you would, the detention you need for half an acre is pretty minuscule, and the fact that they're helping a known flooding issue that's in public right of way, I think that's a pretty good trade-off. This essentially would turn the drainage from the roadway system and turn it directly west. They're going to need an easement from their western property joiner to do that, but it's essentially diverting it to where it goes now. It goes into that system and it turns into that ditch anyways. This is just disconnecting that routing. So instead of it overflowing, going into the road and getting into the system anyways, or getting into the ditch line, it's bypassing it directly.
So it's coming off the property, it's going west?
Down that ditch line, and there's another 24-inch
It's
culvert
going
under
west,
the driveway.
it's going north.
Yep, it'll go north.
So it's going behind the hardware store,
Yep,
and it's gonna dump into that great big ditch that's there now.
yep.
And all those everybody's good with those calculations.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing that now. Essentially what it does is the 10-inch goes...
My
yeah.
point is that, you know, we've seen water running over that road.
Well, this would alleviate that.
Okay.
So they're solving a problem.
They are.
A 24-inch pipe will, I would think, definitely solve that.
Yeah, but when the ditch is full of water, it doesn't matter the pipe upstream.
No. Well, the ditch, I don't think the ditch is ever full of water.
No.
Completely full.
That's how it should have been
Oh, yeah.
done from the start.
Absolutely, it's been full of water, running over the road.
Yeah.
We have included a stormwater quality feature as well with, added rain gardens to help with the runoff from the.
Yeah, in lieu of that, to meet water quality, there will have 2 rain gardens attached into that 24-inch pipe.
So you're calling this a mobile unit. Is this a giant generator on a trailer?
That's typically what they look like too, yeah.
We have no pictures of this thing, we don't know what it is? We don't know how loud it is, we don't know any of this?
It sounds exactly the same as a regular transformer.
Does it live there, or does it come in and out as needed?
It comes in and out as needed. It's not going to stay there forever. It will just be there while we are doing the transformer upgrade work.
So again, it solves the problem.
And then the equipment leaves, the stone pad will stay. Because this will then be our future site if we ever need to bring the mobile unit back in.
In case of an emergency or
Yes.
something of that nature.
The stone doesn't bother me, I understand we usually do paving, but the stone doesn't bother me in this instance because of the use of what they're doing.
Yeah, it's public.
Well, that existing concrete drive apron right there, I think will double in size, I think, roughly. There's an existing apron that was cut with the roadway projects probably 12 years ago now. That will be cut out and it will double in size. So there will be some roadway improvement work kind of through there to kind of cut the curb down, reinstall the...
How much property does that, how much watershed is coming from there? You said it's what, 7 acres?
No, actually that was one of our comments, was to get the exact queue on that. It essentially drains this large parcel northeast of TJ Tire.
Right.
And that all
Comes
kind
under
of
the
comes
road and then
through,
comes around the
I
corner.
think it's 24-inch underneath Fairbanks, and then it kind of routes through the ditch behind the gas station, and then
Right.
hits that parcel, and then it'll go west. So I don't remember exactly. It is probably close to around 8 acres, if I remember doing a quick stream stats on it.
That's a lot of water.
It is. And try to force that through a 10-inch, and now you know why.
Size.
I'm not sure how much the machine weighs, but I think I do have the stone.
Well, I mean, they're not gonna put it on a thin pad of stone, I can't imagine how much that thing costs, but it's gotta be pretty well thought out with the amount of...
I wanna know what it weighs, because I wanna know why they don't wanna put a pad there.
Well, she said...
Oh, yeah, we typically don't put a pad just for the grounding purposes that the stone provides. That's all.
Stone's better grounding than concrete.
That's all I've just been told. I advertised it myself.
You said it.
You also said if they need access, correct?
Access to the line.
Yeah, so we do run conduit under the ground, so that way it's not exposed, but. Rachel, if I may comment on that. In case there's an emergency, if we need to access underground, if the gravel's more efficient than having a pad.
Okay, so Don, how thick does this gravel have to be to, hold an 80,000-pound trailer?
I do not know that.
Okay, somebody knows, right?
Yeah, we have
Okay,
the
as long as somebody
designs on
knows.
the site. I didn't
Okay.
print 100 plans.
All right.
I mean, the pad itself, they're elevating the ground couple feet, but I don't know how thick the actual aggregate's gonna be.
Yeah, I do have drawings if you would like to follow up.
So the other substation on the curve is the other one, right?
West side of the lake is the other one. This will supplement the existing one on
Hang
Lake Shore.
on, he wants, well, one side at a time.
Go for it.
Yeah, are we done with this one then, or what?
I am.
I had one other item that I wanted you to put on. So this is a meets and bounds parcel. You want them to plat it.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's necessary.
Less than an acre, the temporary interim use, or whatever you wanna call it, mobile.
It's not changing its use, it's still the same use it's always been, why would we?
I'm just bringing it up. It's a meets and bounds parcel.
It's a vacant lot.
You've kinda gone both ways on it.
Shouldn't have to.
No? Okay. Perfect.
Tim?
I mean, if it was something else, I get it.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
I guess my question is when this is complete, this is gonna be a 24-foot or 30-foot concrete apron going to a fenced-in area with gravel with a couple pieces of conduit sticking up? I mean, is there any reason that they're not putting this spot right next to the current substation? Because I noticed both of those lots are for sale or for...
Yeah, we looked into it, that was our first choice, of course, to have them directly adjacent. No luck.
Yeah, it just seems like, I've seen both of those properties have currently been up for sale. It seems like, so basically this is just a fenced-in area with a place to park this trailer. They plug in the tube or the...
There will be a few wooden poles that are installed so that we can tie in the lines, of course. But I think there's only four or five poles.
Just seems like it makes sense.
Does to me.
Okay, we good on this one?
Is there,
I'm
I
good.
guess
All right,
my
let's
only
go.
other question is there any consideration of keeping it to one side or the other of this property, or is this whole 7 acres gonna be used up by this parking spot? I mean, this is our main corridor here, and, you know, I mean, that's 7 acres of property.
How far off the road is the gravel gonna start?
I mean,
So the driveway starts, obviously, in conjunction with the road, it looks like.
I can't tell on here.
but is the remaining property still able to be viable, or is it just, I mean, I guess just...
So I guess I could comment, the entire lot is not going to be filled in with the gravel stone.
Right.
I can show you some photos.
I wanna know how long the drive is to the gravel gate.
Yeah, I thought that I had measurements on these drawings, but I just have grading.
It gets 40 feet. The entire depth of the lot is 330 feet, it looks like.
So
according to GIS, and they're only going about halfway up.
So to Tim's question, what does the rest of this become? The north part of the lot?
Yeah, the north part of the lot will basically just remain as it is, but of course our vegetation management will stay in so that it doesn't just turn into a
That's the right answer. Vegetation
sad.
management.
Ooh, that's fancy. That's a fancy landscaper.
You can borrow it if
I
you
like
want.
that for sure. I need a vegetation manager. Sure. Yeah. I guess I have one.
And that's my resume.
Okay, we good now?
Well, let's talk about the west side. What are you doing over there?
Good, Bob.
Okay.
Let me announce it first,
All right.
okay? Number 4, NIPSCO Hager Substation, owner petition, Northern Public Service Company, 801 86th Avenue, Maryville, Indiana, 46410. Vicinity 10501 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting site plan approval for NIPSCO Hagar Station. Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Tell us what you're doing there.
Okay, I am going to turn this over to Elaine Ivy and Darren and Aniket to explain better. I'll take those for representation.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our position this evening. This is an expansion of an existing substation. So
You might want to give it to Rico for you.
we are also working on addressing all of the comments that we received this week, and our intent is to create a small detention area in order to account for the additional, gravel space for the substation expansion.
Darren, if you want to just give a general overview of the project, kind of timeline, that might be helpful.
Yep.
Thank you, that was very helpful.
So, thank you, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Not used to using Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Thank you. So yes, we're building a updated substation, modernizing it to where instead of just doing 2 circuits out of there, we'll be having the capability of grid modernization as well as applying up to 6 different circuits to Cedar Lake. So as Megan said, supporting your growth in your community from an economic standpoint, we've worked with the adjacent landowner to buy a parcel that we can expand the substation into. Again, much as Rachel talked about, it's a traditional utility substation where we're going to have the ability to serve the local community. And from that standpoint, I know there are several things that have been reviewed. I will highlight on the timeline. Our intent is to finish up engineering here in the next few months with the intent that we'll start procuring the rest of our long lead items, poles, and all of the substation equipment such that we'll start building this in February, March of 2026, with having this completed by the end of 2026 to support the local community.
So this one would have, I guess, similar requests of just how you view it. Obviously, the ag pad would need a waiver. They are providing stormwater retention on this one, so there's no waiver required there. This is essentially made up of 3 parcels, about 1.5 acres. The eastern parcel, so the one down here, is actually another meets and bounds parcel. The other 2 are subdivided. So I'm going to ask the question again. You want them to subdivide that 3rd parcel?
I don't think it's necessary for this.
Okay.
So if they want to start using it, are they going to have to subdivide it?
What do you mean?
Doesn't sound like it.
They can just use it, they can add on and keep going?
Yeah, I mean, right now, this one's it's a much bigger expansion. This is using up pretty much the entire 3 parcels with their development.
So if they want to use that lot that's there now, the meets and bounds lot, to store something on there, they can do that. They can do that without any.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
There'll be nothing on that property?
No, there will be something on that property. I believe it's a transformer building or some type of building.
It's not a transformer building, it's what you would call a switchgear. In simple terms, you could think of where you have small transformers out front of buildings. That is where we'll make all of our electrical connections that will supply power from the line and go out and feed your town people.
Yeah, it basically steps down power. It's kind of the heart of the station. It's a really important component.
So there's that question, and then the 3rd question is technically this is over 1 acre. I guess it technically falls under your building moratorium. There's no water use on it that I'm aware of, but it still would be above your threshold. So do they need a waiver from council?
For that waiver, they gotta go to town council.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. Do they fall under that need
If
to
it's
get a
over an
waiver?
acre, yeah.
Do they need it, but there's no water?
No water use on it.
No
that I'm
water
aware
use
of.
and no sewer use. I understand.
But we may
Still gotta go to town council.
verbally approve it.
Well, David, how does this fall under that?
The waiver request goes to the town council.
Town council?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Does
So-
this stand different though, because there is no water and no sewer?
Yeah, you can distinguish it, Heather, but given the uniformity of the council is taking, I'll have
No.
the council members.
I still think it needs to go to the council, but in your opinion, is it different than a development or one lot subdivision or anything else that would use water and sewer, is this different than that regarding the waiver?
No,
No.
no. But I do think the fact pattern between this station and the one on the east side that they just talked about, exists. That the one lot subdivision or re-subdividing this parcel makes sense.
Well, for our infrastructure, right? I mean, we need to do this.
We need to do this. On the other side of the, on the east side of the lake, it's parking space essentially. I mean, location for operating a temporary emergency wheel it away when you're done vehicle.
Yeah, this is a whole.
And this is
substation.
foundation, this is buildings and all that.
One lot subdivision.
I concur.
So before she comes back here, they have to go to town council and
Basically, that's just establishing a legal lot of record and making sure that the boundaries are correct.
Yes, that's right. And waiver from the town council on the moratorium.
And knowing the boundaries there would be very important.
So Rachel, this would be a separate application. So I think your current application is only site plan. So now you're gonna have to go through the plating process, which is putting a plat together. It's a public notice type thing as well. So
Okay.
you'll have to get that with your team and kind of vet that.
Okay. That would be for Haggard, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay.
any other discussion?
Yep, Darren, do you have anything additional that you wanted to comment on? I apologize, I was just making sure that we didn't have anything additional from that area, from engineering on our end.
The only thing I would have to say is thank you, and we will formalize a response to all of your questions that you have, so you have records and can have that information as well.
I agree, thank you very much for the time today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, update items, Rose Garden, Tom McSherry. Tom,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
How are you?
Good.
Happy New Year first and foremost to everybody, and thank you for offering, affording me the possibility to be on Zoom. Well, our underground tree punch is complete. We're waiting for temperatures to break. I did request a possible re-inspection maybe the week of the 20th. Seems like at the end of next week, we're getting back up above freezing for a couple of days, and hopefully that'll continue into that following week. So I sent a request out to Wendy to see if that does come to form, if we could maybe start those inspections the week of January 20th out in the field. We did receive the Unit 2 and Unit 3 record drawing comments from Don on 12/31. Thank you very much for that, Don. I've shared those with Mackie. We were reviewing them, and you should expect a response by January 24th. The remaining HOA items that we have, we've got a pergola that is going to be in, that is going to be complete the week of the 20th, when the temperatures rise, as well as the installation of the benches. The NIPSCO services for the diffusers and the aerators, we just received the JO invoice for that, so once that payment is received by them, then they will then give me a date on when their service will be installed. So we will make sure that in the springtime, obviously when the weather permits, all the diffusers, the aerators, everything is working, and then any warranty that is with that will then be transferred over to the HOA. So I think right now we're just kind of waiting for temperatures to cooperate a little bit so we can go out and do some field inspections, and then like I said, we'll have our responses back to Don for the Unit 2 and the Unit 3 record drawings by the 24th.
Okay, sounds like you're moving right along. Okay, anybody got any questions? If not, we'll see you in a month.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Tom. Number 2, Summer Winds Commercial, maintenance letter of credit to expire on January 21st, 2025, in the amount of $25,752.60. But is not recorded.
Yeah, the PUD is not recorded, that's one thing. But I'll get into the letter of credit items. We met, Brad Lambert, Tim and I did, what was that, last week? Discussed our small punch list. I think we have 5 items on there. The problem with the weather is that he's not gonna be able to get to some of them until the weather breaks. There's a concrete item, there's 2 concrete items, and this thing expires on the 21st. And I think there's 2 water items that Public Works noted today regarding some of their shut-off valve vaults that need to be dewatered and figure out why they're holding water.
So Don, does your report include that they're extending their maintenance bond?
Well, that was gonna be my question. I didn't think you could extend maintenance bonds nowadays with state statutes. Or,
I haven't seen them prohibited.
okay. We can ask Brad to extend it, but yeah, we got till the 21st. I mean, I don't know if he can get that turned around that quick, but we can ask.
Who's gonna record the PUD?
That I don't know.
Well, we just discovered that it wasn't recorded. And the town councils talked about this, and they knew we were gonna talk about it here at the plan commission meeting. Probably legal should take care of it.
That was pretty much
That was the direction pretty much of the council,
yes.
and we will. Absent objection.
Out of curiosity, who should have done that?
That's a good question. And I explained this last night to the council by identifying all the personnel we've had in a certain position or positions in the past 6-7 years. A lot of different job responsibilities and activities occurred here. I can't tell you the answer to that.
No, just to be broad, I'm not trying to be specific. Is it the town that is supposed to be doing that?
Well, town could.
But we're gonna have Dave do it.
From now on?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We said it was irresponsible to have the developer do it because
Agreed.
there's contingencies and.
Yeah, I agree. Or they just don't.
Right, or they just don't.
Yeah.
Well, who's gonna do it now?
Dave.
Dave's gonna do it.
That's how it's supposed to
Davis,
be.
okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. And what about the extension on this maintenance bond? We don't,
I will reach out to Brad, and we'll see what he says. Otherwise, we'll come back in a week and have to discuss it again.
Do we have a drop dead date?
21st is the expiration,
we meet
so,
on the 15th.
yeah, we would have to take action next week.
We're meeting on the 15th, that'll be good.
Yeah, that would give us 4 business days to pull on it.
That's enough.
Yep. So,
Okay.
we'll see if we can get something.
Okay, sounds good. Number 3, broker, Cedar View, Domino's, performance letter of credit to expire on February 15, 2025, in the amount of $14,047. What's happening there?
So they're open. We got their as-bills, complete as-bills maybe 10 days ago, which we have to look at, which is primarily related to their stormwater facility in the rear and their pipes. The letter of credit is primarily related to the entrance modifications they made and signage placement. So we just needed a quick inspection on that. And we'll have that at least looked at prior to next meeting and see where we go. Because it expires on the 15th, so if you had to take action or extend it, it would have to be, it would be prior to your February February public meeting.
And Domino's is separate from the house.
It is the same subdivision, but there's nothing in the letter of credit related to the house.
Okay.
We do have a problem with that down there right now. Because there's no left-hand turns into that place, every vehicle is coming and pulling in the chamber parking lot and then zipping around and then going into the Domino's. We are having semis come in and do a U-turn in the chamber parking lot and then go over there to Domino's. It is going to be a major problem when the boats are in the chamber parking lot with them doing that. So I don't know what we're gonna do about that.
Stevie wondered
All
if
this-
this seen that was gonna be a problem. I
All
can't believe
that,
that ever got.
all that was discussed.
his deliveries need to be coordinated, to have them come in from the east.
Where are they going to go to turn around?
Well, that's what I'm saying, they have, any kind of box trucks or anything like that have to come from the east.
So
The
who pays for the delineators for eternity?
Becomes a public thing.
I shake my head every time I drive by there.
The chamber is concerned about it because of what they're seeing in the parking lot right now.
There
Well, the
wasn't a
road-
better option.
The single road coming off the roundabout, the direction could be changed, couldn't it?
That's a better option.
What?
It's the worst place to put something like that.
Okay, let's not.
The road coming off the roundabout, if the direction was changed on that, wouldn't that solve our problem?
Okay, coulda, woulda, shoulda. We didn't, and this is what it is now,
Just a
right?
sign.
The left turn in would solve the problem. I mean, allowing a left turn into the Domino's would eliminate the need for the U-turns and still have a right out to go. You know, if you wanted to head back east, you turn out, you go around the roundabout and head east. But if you're coming from the west, and we're able to make that left turn into the Domino's, you wouldn't have to do a U-turn or turn around in the chamber. And, I mean, I guess to me, the lesser of two evils is the left turn, because you're crossing that one lane of traffic, you're entering, when you're leaving, you pull out and you head back around the roundabout and head east. But right now, I mean, even if it's a busy time, I guess, or the boats are in play, I mean, right now you see those, you know, there's 6 cars zipping, zoop, zoop, turning around, and right now, with only Diane's car in the chamber, it's not a big deal because there's no...
You're right, we haven't even begun to see the problems with it yet.
Correct. You are correct. The problem is going to arise when
If the little road off the roundabout that comes into the parking lot, that goes right to the ramp, if the direction of that was changed, wouldn't that keep the cars off the chamber property?
Okay,
No,
this
they're not turning into the
statement
road.
under credit, does that go into, I mean, does,
They're not turning into
Yeah,
one,
we're
they're
going-
going right on by and
Once
just
Once it's all
turn
done.
around in
all
the
right, so it's not ready for maintenance.
big spot.
It might be, we need to get eyes on it and finish the as-built review.
Well, we got some time, this is February 15th, in a month, but,
We got some, I'd prefer to have that answer in a week.
okay, so would I.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what we'll do, talk about that in a week. All right, number 4. Further updates before the public hearing on Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. What's channel 17?
Chapter 7.
Chapter
Chapter 17.
Zoning ordinance.
Nobody corrected me. Oh, okay. Any,
Just everybody review it, and if you've got any concerns with it,
oh, okay.
let us know, so that the town council can, go ahead and adopt it.
Seems a lot
Public hearing's
clearer.
here first, Bob.
Yeah, approval here,
Right.
and then send it to the town council, correct, but I stand corrected.
I think there's a lot
Okay,
of clarity.
everybody's got that note taken. All right, public comment. Any public comment?
Angie Michaelacek, 12806 Lee Court. 2 items, since we talked about the semis going by the roundabout. I actually seen one yesterday turn into the property behind my home, and it was still on Klein Avenue, back in, and then turn around. Is there any way that we could have that, like, notice that it's a private road or something? It's undeveloped land. It's right there. And,
Which property are you talking about?
12819 Klein Avenue.
I mean, I didn't know, I'm lost what you're saying.
Oh,
Where
okay.
you're trying to...
What I'm saying, I don't know if maybe Don could pull it up. There is a private property road that was created right there,
Oh, okay.
and that's where the semi
The old
goes.
driveway where you demoed all them houses.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just
and-
didn't, I wasn't sure what she was referring to.
It was only the rear of the semi that came in. It actually turned around on Klein. It like backed in by the apartments and then came back and then went back.
while you're mentioning that, I'm gonna go to Dave. Is there any way, with Tim saying, eliminate and allow a left-hand turn off the roundabout, is there any way we can do that?
You can, but I would recommend your engineer give you that advice if you decide to do something like that.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna ask that the engineer find the traffic study, because you had documentation from your people that said
I can study that.
less were a bad idea.
Potentially, yeah. If you start backing up into the roundabout,
Yeah, that
that's
would
your
be my
biggest concern.
That would be my concern. And it probably would only take a car and a trailer and a truck to get back, well, to get backed up into the roundabout, and then you got a real muck of a mess.
If anybody puts GPS on for Vermillion, which is the next street, it says, the GPS will say, make the next turn, and the turn goes right into that.
Into that drive.
Yeah. There's always Amazon trucks and FedEx and...
And they're just following the GPS?
Yes, and it actually goes all the way through, down to Lee Court, and back out the one-way road to Vermillion. Yeah, and while y'all think it's funny, that's my house right there, and I see everything.
I know that people.
And it's not developed for a road, because it's an Indian trail with grass and stone.
People will follow GPS
And
off
stick.
the cliff.
I know, it's just funny because people will still follow,
I know.
like, even though there's no road there.
Well, knowing the nervous person I am, you could just see me looking out my kitchen window going, oh my gosh. So, anyway, that is an issue. I just didn't know if we could put something on that road that says private road, or don't turn here, or something. That was one thing. And since you talked about drainage, Mr. Corpora, with NIPSCO, I just have one question. The Plan Commission approved subdivision, approved subdivisions. What is the course of action to be taken if you find, after buying your home, that the subdivision you live in has no drainage installed that was recorded at the county as being there? What would any of you do, and what should I do?
In my opinion, I'd go straight to the town council with my information and under public comment.
Maybe to the storm board, not town council?
Okay, well, I did all those things. Nothing, I just need to know, I mean, personally, what would any of you guys do?
You've been talking about this for, I think, ever since I've known you.
Probably.
Yeah.
There's no stormwater in the street, Tim?
There's a stormwater in the street, but according to the plans that I got from the town, there's supposed to be two, like, I don't know what you guys call them, I'm sorry, like man drains, you know.
Structures.
Yes, one, there's, the yard drain in my front, and then there's supposed to be one in the back, and then there's supposed to be one on lot 2. That channel right around my property, so the water that's up here could go down and down to the street. They're not there. But the plans say that they are.
It's the topography that's the problem, and part of this is memory, part of it is speculation. The subdivision went belly up back in 2008-ish, 9-ish.
I have to correct you on that, Mr. Parker, and I apologize. The subdivision did not go belly up. My house went belly up. But this is a subdivision for, I mean, this is the drain for the subdivision, not just for my home. For the whole subdivision.
Can I verify?
Sorry.
Can I verify? Didn't
Yes.
that whole thing get a bankruptcy filed on it?
The developer owner processed and filed for bankruptcy relief.
That's why it didn't get finished. I'm not saying, that's not an excuse,
Right.
but the developer wasn't responsible after he filed his
Sure.
bankruptcy.
I understand that.
But didn't he have a letter of credit up?
But,
Performance letter?
No.
Huh?
Not at that
Not at
time.
that
No.
point.
No, that predated that.
Okay.
That was probably one of the examples that was used to create.
so who recorded it as being there?
That's a good question.
That's what I'd like to know, because I think that would be the person responsible for the situation, or entity.
Yeah, there's no way for me to know that without somebody doing some research.
I'm confused, what's the question?
Why the plat got recorded with the drainage.
Who signed
and
the as-bills?
On the plat. and they've never been installed.
That had to have engineering review here internally, as it was submitted. Just like Don and his firm, hang on, Tim.
Sorry.
Just like Don and his firm review all of our plats and our projects, that's what should have happened then. If it didn't, that's a problem.
Well, I would imagine it got submitted as it was presented at the time, or recorded as it was presented at the time, and although the developer went bankrupt, it never got finished, and then it just got recorded. Would that be fair?
That's how people were pulling permits to build houses in the subdivision.
That's what happened, in my view. I'm speculating,
Okay,
but
well, nonetheless, my title, my property says it was built in 2010. So we bought our house knowing it was 10 years old. You would think that there's stormwater drains in there, and there's not.
And there should have been as the approval of the subdivision.
Well, I would think so.
And now, today, you
Yes.
have a performance letter of credit
Yes.
to cover that. Back then, there was not. There
Yes.
was very little development happening at that time.
I understand.
And I think the solution for that situation does lie with the storm board, like Bob said. If the storm board would take up the cause of finishing that infrastructure, installing that infrastructure, will they? I don't know.
And let me say that I've got a guy named Randy Schmidt who is on my back constantly about drainage in his area that he says the town hasn't done anything about. And what I've tried to explain to him, and I'll explain to you, is the storm board has to prioritize what they can do. They don't have an unlimited amount of money.
Yes, sir, and I am with the storm board.
So you gotta get approval through them to put a project on there to be corrected.
Okay.
And I told Randy the same thing.
Okay, but there's more to the situation. Thank you, Mr. Carnahan. The more to the situation is not only was it recorded that way, but my water well got installed in the designated drainage easement. So therefore, there's no room anymore for the thing, except maybe, some little pipe or something like that. So the solution that we're waiting for is if possibly a parcel or undeveloped land would get developed, because then they would fix it properly. And that is that property, which is by the roundabout and already a problematic area. So,
For the private road,
Where that private road is.
it's not even a road, it's,
driveway.
Yes.
Just a road cut.
so like, if I could get that answer and like move forward with that, then maybe you guys, I would stop coming up here.
Well, we do that.
Well, I probably wouldn't, but at least maybe about this issue. I just need a course of action, what to do, because well, first of all, it's designated as a town thing, so I can't go down there and put my own pipe in there because it's your property, or their property.
So
Someone,
I think you need to go to the storm board, and then Don has to, do
That's exactly what we talked about. I mean, we cannot put a pipe back there because her well's right there. And we've said we can, without basically assistance from the rear of the 12819, we would need to dig a swale from basically the bottom of her steps on her patio all the way to her line. That is the existing drainage easement, and that will make her rear line be rather unusable because it's going to be a V-notch ditch to carry water north.
and then also
So the recommendations at Stormboard was, we can do that, but you're gonna have a very unusable rear yard, or we can potentially wait until the property behind her to basically do the ditch lines there. Because they will also have to do that type of improvements if they do anything residential back there.
And that property
So
is
it's either
currently for sale?
the property's currently for sale, and the same contractor that built my home is the owner. So what I would really like is if part of that property it was put on, because there's plenty of room there. And I don't know how to go about doing that, if it's even possible.
Well, if somebody brought in a plan, we could require it. I mean, to build a home there, a home is one lot, correct?
No, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the drain. I'm not talking about a one home, I'm talking about a drain.
On that property.
Yes.
And
Because,
that-
'cause instead of me waiting any longer, why can't the town just put in the pipe where it's supposed to
Because
be?
we don't have an easement.
Can you get an easement? Since it's not, since the town recorded that there was there, I mean, that's not,
We have an easement. It's on your property.
but you don't, you have a well on my property. It's not, you want me to move my well? I don't know.
I don't either, somebody's got.
I mean,
That's where the swale should, you know, and again, some of the photos from the past show there was some sort of swale there, but the structures are missing.
And then open up.
But the well, yeah, I mean, that's another, I mean, if the well was relocated, then you could install a pipe, and is that your fault? No, I agree, I mean, I'm just saying, it's, you know what I mean, but I guess the easement is existing, and there's some drainage easement there, but to try to, I mean.
look, Jim, to tell you the truth, I just want it right. I don't know what's happening to our foundation of our home with the water, and that's my concern. It could be getting damaged, and I did not buy our house so we couldn't not live in it in 2 years or have to fix the whole entire foundation in the back of the property. We already have a cracked foundation in the garage from the neighbor's house, because it's not just the hill in the back of the house, it's also the hill on the side of the house. So we get all that water from the subdivisions mostly, because there's no drain not only behind lot 1, but not behind lot 2, lot 3, lot 4, lot 5, lot 6. None of it has the drain. The whole subdivision, it's not just my property.
There's nothing that this commission can do unless somebody comes in with a plan to build on that property.
Okay, yes,
This commission could require a drainage easement on that property.
Which Don would, recommend.
There is a 15-foot easement on the rear of her property.
On her property, though,
Yeah.
not on the
So the
adjacent
approved
property.
plans that we have do not show a pipe back there. It showed a ditch line going north.
Just a
Now, just a swale, not a pipe. And that was conveying it north to Lee Court under a culvert that's here and then out. So clearly the ditch line was never constructed, but, I mean, it's tight quarters down because your deck is right up against that easement.
And her well is in.
that's true, but it's the well too. The well is even further than the deck.
And, yeah, well, that's the other problem too.
That's the main
Now you're
problem.
concentrating water from the well right at her well.
Yeah, and it'll travel the case,
Not a
and
great-
groundwater will
not a great
travel the
thing to
case,
do.
and contaminate the well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's been happening.
I mean, I don't know if it's contamination.
No.
It's just normal runoff, but
Still.
is it recommended? No, it's not. So those are the kind of rock and a hard place stuff.
Right, and I think, I'm sorry, but I think the better solution would be for the next 10 feet or something like that, put the drains there. And I'd like to know how we
Again,
can,
Angie, if somebody came in with a plan to develop that, a viable plan to develop it, we could require it, but we can't just take the man's property and put an easement.
why not? Eminent domain, can't you do something like that?
Because it's unconstitutional, Angie.
Even if they didn't,
Somebody's property is unconstitutional.
is there, what about eminent domain?
Don, what would it, how much of an easement do you need on that property?
There-
One 128.19.
There's pretty strict guidelines for eminent domain.
Okay.
Depends, I need to get some pretty detailed grades to see what the geometry of a swale would look like to contain.
I mean, it's not like we don't pursue easements on other things.
Thank you. And also, what everybody might
Well,
not
what
be
he just
listening
said, pursuing an easement on that would mean there would have to be cooperation from the owner.
Okay, well, let's cooperate. I think that was one of the questions that, I think Mr. Bungie was gonna ask him that last year. I think he's a changed person.
That's what I heard.
I mean, you know, that was way long ago, right?
I'm,
Sorry.
with all due respect, Angie, I'm refraining here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, but the other thing to keep in mind, please, is that the wetlands are right there too in that subdivision that go right into the lake. So the town or the state is gonna pay money to clean the lake or whatever they're gonna do, but we have situations like this. So I just wanted to say, and I could walk away, and I do know that if to develop the land would be the best, because the developer would pay for the soil, I get that. But what if it never gets developed? It's already been, what am I, on year 4?
I get
It's
it.
not good for storage anymore, so something's gotta be done with it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the solution is, short of the storm board coming up with one or a development coming in for that property. Just-
Can we change the zoning on that property?
What?
That'd have to be an owner request.
To a park?
We'd have to buy it.
Sensitive subject tonight.
They could use
Care to buy it and
Kiwanis
donate it.
What's
I
that?
guess.
They could use Kiwanis Park.
Why not? Why not?
Everybody else
Everybody
really
gets delivered.
We can't change the zoning.
You can't change the zoning.
What about the problem with the street? Just leave it alone? Just don't worry about it? I mean, I'm not being a bit disrespectful, but
You're talking about the driveway?
You can, I mean, you can put up a sign, it's not gonna stop people from doing it.
No, I mean.
They should have a little, like, like a chain or something up, right?
yes, they
Even if
should.
we had that though, we had, just like yesterday, we had a situation where a semi entered an area where it shouldn't have entered, knocked down a pole and destroyed the top of an ambulance that happened to be sitting in the parking lot.
Yes, I was here,
These
yeah.
are the kind of things that happen when people are following their GPS and not paying attention to where they're going, or whether a commercial vehicle will fit in that space. Even if the sign was there, it wouldn't prevent that from happening.
Oh, I know, there were
You have to
semis
drive
there.
in
The
and
semi
carry
goes
that
there?
thing up to the axle.
Yep, okay, well,
You know, so, I just, I don't know. That's, I mean,
John, is my house getting destroyed?
Don't know how to answer that, I don't know.
Is it possible?
I don't know.
Your sump pump run a lot?
It does,
Shut off?
it does.
That's functioning correctly.
And I don't think any of us can make comments because we're not qualified to do that.
I'm not telling her house is not being.
So who would I call to check on, like, make sure the well's okay and the sump pump's okay? A plumber or electrician?
well, you wouldn't call a plumber for the well. I mean, you take a water sample to Microvac or somewhere and they can tell you the quality of the
Well, I
water.
know, but if I could see, like, the depth of it, and who would I call? Because I think it was Economy Well, and they're not in service anymore, right?
I get
You- they-
A well
still do
company?
that.
I'll get you the IDEM guy's number. He comes around once in a while and checks
Oh,
well
Mark
depths.
Bash, yeah.
Oh, should I get IDEM there? That's
I'm
kind of
gonna give-
scary.
I'll give you his number.
All right, I appreciate it. Okay, I won't
Because he
continue
comes
your
around,
time.
he
Thank
comes
you.
around periodically.
Sorry, Mr.
He
Forsing.
doesn't do quality, he just does depth.
Okay. Perfect.
I would approach the storm board again and see if
Oh,
there's,
I'll be there.
okay.
I go every month for, I don't know how long, a year? A year, yeah, because you told me about it in January last year, so I just go every month.
It's not that no one wants to help you, Angie, we're just not sure the direction to go, and the storm board is there for you.
And I don't either, and you know what, quite honestly, I pay somebody to try to help me, but who am I gonna pay? Who would help me with the situation without getting you guys' approval? I don't know.
It's an unfortunate situation that subdivision got developed, the way it got developed.
All right, have a nice evening, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Maurice Tomorrow, 13318 Morris Street. Mr. Parker, did you just say that the zoning can't be changed unless the homeowner or the property owner requests it?
No, I didn't
I
say
did,
that.
I said that,
You said that?
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
sure. Any other public comment?
Nobody online?
Nobody online? No more public comment? Next meeting is January 15th at 7 o'clock. We're adjourned. Thank you.